What's up, guys? Welcome back to Picture Breakdown. This is going to be my breakdown of The Bad Batch Episode 8, Reunion. I'm going to be going through this episode shot by shot for interesting visual details, hidden references, as well as adding background information that you might need to know. But first, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button and notification bell to be notified for every future Bad Batch episode breakdown. Before we get into it, I have a few announcements for the channel. The first one is about the Loki Episode 2 breakdown. We had it ready to release Wednesday night, but it got copyrighted by Disney and taken down. We tried to re-upload it with some clips taken out, but that didn't work. So we just had to dispute the copyright claim, which in our experience takes a couple of days. So if the breakdown isn't out by the time this one comes out, it'll probably come out by tomorrow, hopefully. The breakdown, in my opinion, is one of the best, if not the very best we've put out so far, so be sure to watch it when it does come out. The second announcement is that next week my editor and I are going to be busy, so we won't be able to get either the Loki or Bad Batch breakdowns out on time, but they'll probably come out later. Now for the spoiler warning for Bad Batch Episode 8. Alright, let's get right into it. So the title for this episode is Reunion, which is obviously talking about the reunion between Crosshair and the Bad Batch, but it's also talking about the coming reunion of the Kaminoans and Omega after she's taken in by the bounty hunter. Alright, so after they take down the scrappers, they start trying to figure out how much money they could make by taking things from the cruiser, and Tech says,
"My scans indicate the armory and artillery bay have not been fully offloaded. The Dianoga must have kept the scrappers away."
He references the Dianoga, which is the thing that we saw took Wrecker down last episode, and they're actually sentient beings, some of which are even force sensitive. We were first introduced to the Dianoga in A New Hope in the trash compactor scene when Luke gets pulled down by one of these. They get inside the armory and they find a bunch of proton torpedoes, the same thing that Luke used to blow up the first Death Star. How they work is upon impact, the energy warheads release clouds of high-velocity proton particles, decimating the intended target. We cut to Nala Se and the Prime Minister talking about the attack on the Bad Batch, and the Prime Minister says,
"As long as one of these bounty hunters deliver the young clone intact, that is all that should concern us."
confirming my suspicion that it was the Kaminoans who had hired Fennec Shan to capture Omega a few episodes ago. Crosshair and his clones get into the cruisers to try to look for the Bad Batch, and while the Bad Batch are trying to escape, Hunter says,
"Someone's coming."
Before they could see the troopers. A great display of Hunter's ability of increased senses. He was able to hear the group of troopers before they are visible. The troopers just walk right past the Bad Batch, which troopers have done before, and every single time I found this weird because your peripheral vision would have been able to see them, but I just realized that because of their poorly shaped helmets, they have no peripheral vision, so they wouldn't be able to see them in this moment. After Tech taps into their comms, they get into a trap in the artillery hangar. Once they're surrounded, Tech says to Echo,
"Echo, scomp in and reroute reserve power to the cannons."
Which Echo does, showing the screen on Tech's device. The thing shows up with a cannon with some orbish over it that translates to depleted. Under it says emergency power. Tech hits a button and depleted turns to charging, and then that later turns to green and says charged. Tech shoots off the cannon, collapsing the ceiling, and Wrecker goes to a clone trooper and chucks him off the ship. The clone lets off a little cry. This isn't the famous Wilhelm scream, but it's some sort of cry that I guess the clone troopers do. After they blow up the dome of the engines, they get separated, and Omega and Hunter make it back to the ship first, only to find the clones guarding it killed, with Cad Bane standing in the wake of the destruction. Cad Bane is a Duros bounty hunter we've seen in the Clone Wars a few times. He's honestly one of my favorite bounty hunters because of how cool he keeps it all the time, but he's also just a really skilled fighter as shown in the standoff. So, near the end of the episode, the Bad Batch break off the engine, turning the blast towards Crosshair. This results in him being severely burned and being taken to a medical bay. I'm thinking that they could take him to a medical bay that results in him finding out about his inhibitor chip, and maybe it being deactivated. This would be really cool, because if the Empire did find out about this, he could have some sort of amazing escape sequence, or he could be captured and the Bad Batch would have to come get him. Or if he wasn't found out, he could become a spy in the Empire for the Bad Batch. My thoughts on this episode were pretty positive overall. I think it didn't really slow down at all, and it kept you thinking about what was going to happen next. This episode ended like The Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 14, where in that one Grogu was getting taken by the Dark Troopers, but in this one Omega was getting taken by Cad Bane. Overall, very satisfying episode, and I'm very pleased with it, and I can't wait to watch and break down the rest of the episodes for you guys. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to be notified for every future Bad Batch episode breakdown. If you know someone who's watching Bad Batch, please consider sharing this with them. Put down any questions or comments, and let me know if you think Crosshair's going to be finding out about his inhibitor chip. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next breakdown.